Hello there, Stevos. Welcome back to another episode of Steve's Movie Wrap-Up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys have been watching this past week, whether it's old, new, in cinemas, in theatres, on DVD, Blu-ray, VHS. Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you are new around here and you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. And of course, don't forget to tap that notification bell as well to remind you guys, or to give you guys notifications as to when I do upload a brand new video here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's see what movies I've watched and reviewed over this past week. You're watching Steve's Movie Wrap-Up, episode 91, right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. The first movie we'll be reviewing in this episode is Thrash. So we're starting this week's episode off with Thrash, which I gave 1.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Now, Tommy Wirkola directs the film Thrash, which stars Phoebe Dynevor, who, by the way, has featured in a few other films I have on the watch list that I do need to watch and review, so it won't be the last time her name does pop up in a movie review of a film I review in 2026, but she is the only actress who I am aware of who I have heard in this movie. Aside from that, I haven't heard of anyone else in this film, but what did I think of Thrash? Well, Thrash does come with a rather short running time, clocking in at 1 hour 26 minutes. I just felt as though this movie was way too short in my opinion, and it should have been fleshed out. Did it really have any character development at all? Nope, it didn't. Did it feel rather rushed? Yes, it did. Is this going to be a movie I will remember after a couple of days? Sadly, it won't be, and that is such a shame because I did see the trailer for this a couple of weeks ago, and I was so looking forward to seeing this film, and now I have seen it. I feel bad that this is an hour and a half of my life I sadly won't get back. That being said, though, I thought Phoebe Dynevor, who plays main character Lisa in this film, was rather decent, and also playing the song 1,000 Miles whilst giving birth towards the final act of the film was crazy, because all I kept thinking was, where was Terry Crews from White Chicks? I was half expecting him to make a cameo at that point. That is all I could think about, and hey, that would have made this film so much better and probably funnier as well. Of course, this was a partial creature feature as well, as this movie did feature sharks, which of course those sharks were CGI'd in here as well, which made the film look rather cheap and somewhat of a low budget as well. Safe to say, if you take the first letter H out of the title for Thrash, then you have the answer as to what this film really was. Thrash is streaming now on Netflix worldwide. Pretty Lethal. Next up, I watched Pretty Lethal, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Maddie Ziegler, Lana Condor, Millicent Simmons and Uma Thurman all star in Pretty Lethal, which was released a few weeks back on streaming service Amazon Prime Video. So, what did I think of this film? There was some rather enjoyable scenes, some rather fun action scenes, which I thought were well choreographed and at times rather bloody as well. However, though, it does come with a running time of 1 hour 30 minutes, and also I do find the villains of the story rather generic, and they don't bring anything fresh to the table, unfortunately. I will say, though, I did enjoy this film, and I would say that this is a film I would definitely be happy to check out again and rewatch again. However, is this a film I would recommend watching? Well, if you are into action films, then I would say definitely give this a watch. Also, I will say I do appreciate the fact that this movie does feature a deaf character played by a deaf actress in an action movie as well, which does build tension at times, and that is in the form of Millicent Simmons. I thought I recognised her face from somewhere, but couldn't pinpoint where until I saw her filmography on Letterboxd, and she has appeared in the 2 A Quiet Place films and will be returning for the 3rd part as well. But Pretty Lethal is now streaming over on Amazon Prime Video worldwide. Do Not Enter. Next up, I watched Do Not Enter, which I have given 2 stars over on Letterboxd. So Do Not Enter is a low budget, or at least a somewhat low budget horror movie that has recently released on digital platforms here in the UK. So what did I think of Do Not Enter? It clocks in with a running time of exactly 1 hour 30 minutes, and I will say that despite the fact that I have never heard of any of the actors that appear in this film or have seen them in any projects before, but I will say that this film and their performances in this was rather decent, to say the least. Now, this being a horror movie, you would expect there to be some gore, and this film does, at times, during the running time, deliver on the gore. I will say that there is some tension within this film as well, but is it well executed though? Sadly, I think this is where Do Not Enter fails to deliver, unfortunately. Is Do Not Enter a horror film that I would recommend watching to the horror community? I would say do check this out, but this will likely be a watch once and once only. For me, I would be happy to rewatch this film again, but more so just have it on as background noise more than anything else. However, I won't be in any rush to revisit this one again anytime soon, but I do still appreciate this film for what it is worth. Do Not Enter is available to buy and rent on digital platforms now in the UK. Dolly. So, next up is Dolly, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. I really did dig this movie, which is simply titled Dolly. This movie did get a very limited theatrical release here in the UK. Sadly, I wasn't able to catch this out in cinemas due to the fact that it was showing late at night at my local cinema, and I was originally going to wait until this film hit the horror streaming service Shudder at the end of this month, but earlier this week I have discovered this film was available to buy and rent on digital platforms in the UK, so took the chance to buy and keep the movie on digital, and now that I have seen it, I can share my thoughts. So, what did I think of Dolly? I had a great time with this film. There was a little bit of gore here and there. It does come with a very short running time of just 1 hour 22 minutes, and it is also based from a short story which is called Baby Girl that came out in 2022. I loved the 70s-esque aspects in terms of filming, and there is something that I really want to know about this film. At the start, we see the main character Macy and her partner on this clifftop. Is that the same clifftop filming location that was used in A Violent Nature during that yoga death scene? Because that location did seem rather familiar to me. So if anyone has any information on that, please feel free to let me know, because it did just look rather familiar. Maybe I should go back and rewatch A Violent Nature actually as well, because it's been a while since I last saw that film. But is Dolly a film I can see myself going back to and revisiting, rewatching again in the future? Yes, I definitely would be happy to check this horror movie out again in the near future. And is this a horror movie that I would recommend the horror community to watch? For sure, I would say if you wasn't able to check this out earlier this year in cinemas or theatres, then check it out, because I do recommend giving this one a watch. Dolly is available to buy and rent on digital platforms now in the UK, and it will be arriving on the horror streaming service Shudder at the end of April 2026. The Drama. Next up this week, I have seen the film The Drama, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, and Alana Haim, one of the Haim sisters from the band Haim, stars in this movie titled The Drama. Now, I am going to be very cautious about going into this review, because the plot actually revolves around a secret, and even in the trailer itself, the secret isn't revealed as to what Zendaya's character Emma has done in the past that is really bad. I could say, well, it is, but then I will ruin the movie-going experience for people who want to give this movie a watch, so I won't discuss it. I will, however, discuss that this movie is a partial dark comedy and a rom-com at the same time, as it does centre around Zendaya's character Emma and Robert Pattinson's character Charlie as they get married. However, though, just days before the nuptials arrive, Emma reveals a secret from her past that is so bad that it does make Charlie contemplate the relationship and the woman he is about to marry as well. I will say that this movie felt rather quick. Like, it felt like I started watching this film, I blinked, and then the film ended. But I think the running time was around an hour and 30 minutes. But I will say that this did make me chuckle a few times. And given the fact that I saw this with a somewhat decent amount of people in the cinema as well, there was a few chuckles from the audience as well. Is the drama a movie I would recommend watching? I definitely would say so if you are into dark comedy or rom-coms. Is the drama going to be a film I will watch again? Yes, for sure. This would be a film I would be happy to see again. I will likely buy this film to keep on digital platforms when it does get released later this year. But for now, though, the drama is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Next up this week, it is the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which I gave 4 stars over on Letterboxd. So, I have finally watched the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which sees Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Jack Black all back in the roles of Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Bowser, respectively, as well as Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, as well. There is, however, some new voice actors that have been cast in this movie as well, with Benny Safdie as the voice of Bowser Jr., Glenn Powell as the voice of Fox McCloud from Star Fox, and Donald Glover as the voice of Yoshi, alongside Brie Larson, who voices Princess Rosalina as well, and Issa Rae as Honeybee as well. So, what did I think of the Super Mario Galaxy movie? It's been about 3 years since the first Mario animated movie was released by Universal, Illumination, and Nintendo, and I gave that movie a lot of praise and gave it 5 stars. This one, however, has been given 4 stars on Letterboxd 3 years later because there's still so much to love and appreciate from this film. However, it can be a little messy at times. Given the fact that this does come with a running time of 1 hour 38 minutes, but I feel like they were trying to fill this running time with so much going on all at once and trying to fill it full of Easter eggs as well as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, as a lifelong fan of Super Mario, playing most of the video games, growing up even to this day, and I appreciate all the Easter eggs we get in here, but I just wish that either the film was a little longer, or I just wish that there was less Easter eggs and maybe some of them could have been saved for a third film, if a third film does happen. However, the music composed in this movie, once again by Brian Tyler, who composed the music for the first film in 2023, was absolutely great. There was a jazz version of Jump Up Superstar, which is the song from Super Mario Odyssey, which I really loved hearing. I really hope they make an Odyssey film next. However, though, this film is called Super Mario Galaxy Movie, and they didn't really explore much of the galaxy. I felt as though I felt there could have been so much more of the galaxy that could have been explored here. I also feel as though the trailer, in the trailer, Princess Rosalina was used so much, and yet she barely got any screen time in this film. Probably about 10 minutes of screen time is what she was given here, and yet most of that was at the beginning of the film. I will say, though, that visually this film is really stunning and really beautiful, and I love how some of the watermarks or dirt marks from the scenes end up on the camera. That is such a nice and beautiful touch. I feel as though the relationship between Super Mario and Princess Peach is somewhat explored, but at the same time glossed over, and yet Nintendo did say last year in 2025 that Mario and Peach are just good friends, so I don't think a relationship between them both will happen in the film, sadly. I thought Yoshi was rather cute and adorable from the moment he appears on screen, and I also did enjoy the 2 post-credit scenes. I will admit, though, I wish I had seen this film a lot earlier than I did, because from the day after this film got released, a lot of the scenes from this film got leaked on Twitter/X, so that was rather annoying. I kept coming across leaks from this film that people had filmed in the cinema, including some cameos and also a new character that appears in the final post-credits scene, which I won't spoil, especially for those who haven't seen this film yet. Glenn Powell as Fox McCloud I thought was also rather decent as well, and I loved the little scene that we got with the Pikmin characters as well. Again, not a spoiler that they turn up in this film, because I have seen them being posted on the Mario Galaxy movie social media page. Is the Super Mario Galaxy movie a film I would recommend watching? Yes, for sure it is, especially if you are a fan of the games or a fan of Nintendo. I think you will enjoy this one. Will I happily revisit this film again? Yes, I will see this again. I will likely buy and keep this film on digital platforms when it comes out later this year. However, I was watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie back in 2023 multiple times at the cinema when it came out, but I am satisfied. I have seen this one once at the cinema, and will now probably wait to rewatch this one when it does come out later this year on digital platforms. But the Super Mario Galaxy movie is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. The Magic Faraway Tree. And lastly this week I have seen The Magic Faraway Tree, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. I cannot believe I've spent an entire Saturday afternoon at my second office, that is the cinema, watching and reviewing films. But this is the last film I have watched at the cinema on a Saturday afternoon. The third film I have reviewed at the cinema on a Saturday afternoon, in the form of The Magic Faraway Tree, which, by the way, does have some really talented cast members in this. Sir Lenny Henry, Andrew Garfield, Nicola Coughlan, Mark Heap, who a lot of people will know as Jim from the British comedy series Friday Night Dinner, and Rebecca Ferguson all star in this family-friendly movie. Now, I do believe that The Magic Faraway Tree is based on a book. Now, I always ask the question, and it is always the same response back. Have I read the book? I haven't. One of these days, though, there will be a film I have watched that was based on a novel that I have read. But what I will say about The Magic Faraway Tree is, if you enjoyed the Paddington films or the more recent Wonka film that starred Timothée Chalamet, then you will enjoy this one, because it is one of those heartwarming, wholesome kind of films that you can sit back and enjoy. It is one of those movies where you can just turn your brain off for nearly 2 hours and just enjoy the escapism that is happening on screen. I had a fun time with this film and enjoyed exploring the endless possibilities that this story told. The magic as well was really cool as well. Do I recommend watching The Magic Faraway Tree? For sure, I do recommend watching this film. And will I buy it to keep on digital platforms later this year and rewatch this film? I can definitely see myself revisiting, watching this again, because I definitely did have a fun time watching this film the first time around. But The Magic Faraway Tree is currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. And that is it for this week's episode of the Movie Wrap Up. Hope you guys enjoyed my movie reviews and my thoughts on the films that I have watched this week. Coming up in next week's episode, by the way, I am going to be reviewing the following films: You, Me and Tuscany. I'm also going to be reviewing California Scheming as well, Reminders of Him, and I'm also going to be reviewing Undertone as well. Undertone is definitely a horror film that I'm looking forward to watching, because I've heard so many good things about Undertone, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. And if there is any other films as well that I might be watching across next week on streaming as well, that is brand new and newly released or recently released, then of course I will review it in my next episode of the Movie Wrap Up. Also as well, by the way, I am going to be bringing you in the next couple of weeks, probably towards the end of April into the beginning of May, I'm going to be bringing you guys a bit of an update as to when the vlogs will be returning. I have been filming some scenes for the vlogs when they do come back, okay? So there is going to be some new episodes, maybe a bit of a new format. We'll see on that one, but there's going to be a bit of a new format and a new series for the vlogs, okay? But I will reveal more about that in a couple of weeks' time during an episode of the Movie Wrap Up. But guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. I, of course, will be back next Sunday with another episode of the Movie Wrap Up. If you have enjoyed it, feel free to tap that like button. feel free to comment in the comment section down below. As always, if you are new around here and you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Steve-O, and of course tap the notification bell so that you guys get notified whenever I do release a new video right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. But until then though, it's goodbye, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.